go ahead, Michael, and explain
Oh my gosh.
what is happening here. So this is a
So
post from
if
SpiceDAO, and it got a
yeah,
huge uproar.
oh my gosh. So if you guys are not aware and have not followed this, Dune NFT was trending on Twitter, or I think it may have been trending. I don't remember. But it has definitely caused a splash in that a DAO dedicated to Dune, specifically to an unreleased, unfinished film adaptation of Dune, spent, I think it ended up being translated to USD, 3.04 million dollars on a collector's book that was the storyboarded 10-hour film of this adaptation.
Mm-hmm. This
Um,
is the tweet.
yeah, the tweet should be up on screen now. Um, Essentially, they seemed to not understand that buying this collector's item did not give them the usage rights to Dune and to that version of Dune, um, which opens up a whole massive can of worms about NFTs and usage rights with NFTs, and just kind of what that's going to end up looking like.
Yeah.
And this is the whole reason that I am facepalming in the thumbnail to this video.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go like one thing at a time with this. And again, most of you guys probably know this,
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of what we're going to say here. But let's go one thing at a time. First of all, they didn't even buy an NFT version of this book. Like this is not even a digital. As the story as I understand it, they didn't even buy the digital, like a digital NFT version of this book. They just bought the book on an auction.
They wait. So
And
they bought the book on the auction, and then they minted it.
I believe they minted it. Yeah. And then they have now assumed that gives them NFT rights to this version of Dune. That's not how that works. That's not how IP works. That's and no one really, like, who truly believes. Well, I mean, many of us who truly believe in NFTs and in the usability of NFTs have ever claimed that as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of in chat. It's depressing, um, but
Yeah.
it's this total misunderstanding of what an NFT is, um, and it kind of comes back to this misunderstanding of how NFTs work. Do
Yeah.
you have thoughts, Errol?
Yeah, I mean, so so I don't know if you guys spend any time in Clubhouse. I don't. Yeah. One of the things that I see is like an incredibly common misconception around NFTs, and I was talking to folks in Clubhouse about this because it seemed like a lot of people, like there's one Clubhouse channel where a room where this lawyer was essentially explaining the value behind NFTs and
Mm-hmm.
even like trying to understand like intellectual property rights and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, that's a bad route to try to go down because fundamentally this has nothing to do with intellectual property. Like
No, no.
NFTs is as much tied to intellectual property as cards. Like let's say I print a bunch of Pokemon cards. Those Pokemon
Right,
cards are a
right.
use of an intellectual property, but they are not the intellectual property themselves.
No,
So yeah,
it's buying this, like, even minting this book as an NFT is no different than owning the a rare copy, right? Like if I bought a first edition signed copy of Dune, which I would be thrilled to own
yeah,
because
it'd be
Dune is one of
awesome.
my favorite books ever. It'd be awesome. I don't now have the rights any content about that. I don't own anything about it. I just own a collector's item.
Yeah, yeah,
And the trouble with this and with what's happening that we'll get to is, right. Why would they think that owns the rights? That's crazy. It's just a collector's item. Um, and the trouble with this is just giving more ammunition
mm-hmm,
to everyone who NFTs and who is raging against like what NFTs are capable of,
Yeah.
It's just ammunition for them.
Right, because
Um,
this further pushes the idea that it's basically just a JPEG. Like it's basically just
right.
a like they're like
Exactly.
these are overpriced digital images because they are not proving in this that there's any form of utility behind the NFT that they have or anything like that. And it seems like they make us all look dumb because first off, this is a group that has a crazy ton of money, but then at the same time, they're using
Right.
it to do really dumb stuff like this, buying NFTs that have absolutely zero
Exactly.
utility whatsoever to them. Um,
Exactly.
so I love Limelit Girls. Why would they think they own the rights? That's crazy. Hype
Yeah.
Train. Yeah, don't understand it. Basic
It absolutely is
principle
the hype.
was nothing original at first. Yeah.
Right. So like they're not even buying the original Dune. They're buying an unreleased adaptation. Right. Just like buying Linelit Girl, just like buying the rights to an item or buying an item doesn't give you the rights. The seller that sold it didn't own the rights to even be able to sell them. So like if Walmart sells me a bunch of Pokemon or Magic cards, Walmart didn't own the rights to
Yeah.
the Magic or Pokemon cards. They're just a distributor for that.
Yep.
Um, so there's so much wrong in what's happening here, and there was a follow up that they posted. Um,
Would I
I
find
don't
it
know where
further
they posted
down,
it, but
or is it just a different
I
tweet?
don't know if you would. It was someone who has been someone on Twitter. I was just sort of researching this before the podcast so that I would have a little bit more information on it. Someone who has been tweeting about this consistently posted a follow up that I think it may have been in their Discord. That's
Copy.
basically after 2 months of outreach and conversation with business partners and consultations, they weren't able to reach an agreement to the rights holders of
Yeah.
the books.
Yep.
Obviously,
Yep.
because the rights holders have no reason to sell to these people.
Absolutely
So
not.
now they're basically they're creating an animated series that's inspired by,
Yes, yeah.
which
Which fundamentally did not buying this thing did not give them like any
no,
special ability at all
right,
towards that. It's just a waste of money. The
yeah,
I want to curve this so we can criticize these guys as much as possible. Like, and they 100% deserve it because it's crazy that they did this and it's an
right,
exorbitant amount of money, right? But what's interesting to me is less like so this is the misconception, right? Is that this is just a useless JPEG. And then what our argument has been, and what a lot of you guys constantly help us declare to the world, is that this is why it's so important for every NFT to have some form of utility. Even if at the bare
mm-hmm,
minimum, it's just a key that gets you into a special club. I do think there's a limit to
right,
that, but I think that at least
right,
that is super important. Now, here's something else. I came from the content world. I came from the world of movie making. I did a TV series way back in the day. Like that was my first ever like career was movies and
mm-hmm,
TV. And one of the hardest things to do was to fund projects, especially if that project
right,
was for a brand new IP. So, I mean, if you guys are wondering
right,
why we're seeing so many remakes right now, it's because it's hard to get a new intellectual property off the ground. We just aren't going to
yeah,
see, especially as prices are going up for people's services. There's inflation all around the board. We're seeing a time where the Ninja Turtles of the world are going to be fewer and far between. Like Pokemon, fewer and far between. We're not seeing nearly as much innovation when it comes to creating new intellectual properties. And I think a big part of
right,
that is we have so many options for content that the way that we used to do it
mm-hmm,
before, where some dude came up with something and just like pitched it to a bunch of execs, and the execs put it on TV, and it ended up being one of 20 things that was on TV that day. Like we don't have that level of competition anymore. The competition's gone way up. Literally, those
mm-hmm,
guys are now competing with kids who are posting on TikTok for people's attention. So I
right,
think what we're going to start to see, especially as NFTs continue to reach further and further adoption and face less and less criticism around, like as people start to understand the things that you can start doing with NFTs,
right,
people are going to start to use them as methods of, fundraising intellectual property in such a way that actually gives the people who come in early, a much better deal than if they were to buy something from a Kickstarter. Kickstarter back in the day was like super crazy because it was a way for indies to get stuff off the ground. In especially as speaking from a film guy, lots of people use Kickstarter for other reasons, but as a film guy, the only thing we ever used Kickstarter for was we just need to get like our test pilot off the ground. If we could just do that, then we could possibly get this brand new intellectual property off the ground. It was so challenging to do because fundamentally you're saying that I'm going to give you a T-shirt and then you're going to help me make millions of dollars potentially. And look, your best friends, they might do that for you one time, but they're not going to do it every single time because they only need so many freaking T-shirts. And then you have to go buy those T-shirts, and you're not that great at it. It's actually hard to sell T-shirts, so you end up making a lot of mistakes that cost more money. So actually, you raised 20 grand, but you actually only got 10 grand because you made so many mistakes. So anyway, this I think is gonna be a much better way because people can actually start to get royalties, and I've heard lots of people talk about this on the music side, in other forms of media and entertainment. Why not give people who own NFTs royalties from the success of a project? Coins can do that. There's lots of other utilities that you can give that allow people over the lifetime of that project to kind of inherit the benefits of that project in a way that is not so heavily regulated, like if you were to break that movie off into a bunch of securities that then people could purchase. They have to be official investors. You can only get so many crowd-funded investors because there is some of that. Lots of things to go into there, but I'll shut up for a second.
I think the biggest thing we can sort of we need to look at and take away from this incident is, I guess we'll call it.
We'll call it an incident. I like that.
We'll call it an incident. Is it shows still, even within the communities that are invested in NFTs and blockchain, how much we still don't understand about what they are and how they can be used. It's such a new technology. It's such a new way of blockchain that we're still in that phase of how to apply this in a way that is practical and efficient and actually means something. And a lot of people just don't fully understand what it is yet. And we have to kind of get past that massive learning curve of everyone coming into the space and going, an NFT, like that phase of development where you have everyone coming in not knowing what all this works.
A bunch of blunders.
More projects. Right.
Yeah.
And we need more projects that are really building powerful, useful things, not just another rendition of apes.